Arsenal had a disappointing season this year. They finished second in the Premier League, 10 points behind the current champions Liverpool. Although the table shows them as the closest challenger to the Liverpool, but anyone who has seen the previous season would tell you that there was no title challenge from Arsenal. Liverpool was in a one-way race to the title with no one anywhere close to them. Even that 10-point gap was because Liverpool basically went on a vacation in the last four Premier League games after they had secured the Premier League title. Similarly, some hopes went up in the North London after Arsenal defeated Real Madrid both home and away and 5-1 on aggregate. After a history of failures in the Europe, it looked like Arsenal might hit the biggest jackpot in world football, something even the most coveted teams in the Arsenal history have not achieved. But within a few days of that Real Madrid performance, Paris Saint-Germain brought those Arsenal fans that had dreams in their eyes brought back to earth. Paris Saint-Germain beat Arsenal 1-0 at the Emirates, a game where it looked like Arsenal did not even showed up. And then again, a 2-1 defeat at the Parc des Princes, where some hope of a comeback was crushed after Bukayo Saka decided to replicate Raheem Sterling's famous miss against Lyon. Their only hope of a successful season was finally crushed after that night in Paris. This was not the only heartbreak for them this season. They also lost in the semi-final of Carabao Cup, where Newcastle United taught Arsenal a footballing lesson, both at the Emirates and then at St James Park. And if that was not enough, they got knocked out of the FA Cup third round to Man United. Yes, Man United, a team so dysfunctional that even their own fans need therapy sessions after watching them time to time. And now, here we are. Arsenal had a disappointing season and it is not done because now Arsenal have not won any trophy of worth in the last 5 years. Except if you count the Community Shield, then good for you. But honestly, no one cares about that trophy. The last time Arsenal won a trophy was 2020 FA Cup, where they defeated Chelsea 2-1 on the back of two goals from Aubameyang. And that trophy is the only thing that has kept Mikel Arteta at the club. Otherwise, he would have been sacked multiple times by now. Now, a lot of people say patience is a virtue, but it has its limits. And with this Mikel Arteta project, you would have to be a Himalayan monk to still not lose your cool. This Mikel Arteta project has completed 5.5 years at Arsenal, and there are no signs of a major title anywhere soon. At least at the end of the previous season, there was a belief that if Manchester City was to falter, then Arsenal would capitalize and finally claim the biggest prize in English football. And yes, finally, Manchester City did falter, but it was not Arsenal who was there to take advantage and capitalize, but Liverpool, a team with a manager who was in his first season at the club without any process and delivered a Premier League title at Liverpool. Now, this possesses a massive question for Mikel Arteta at Arsenal about how long this project will continue and is it even worth it given the fact if anyone was to name the favorites to win the Premier League title next season, even now, then majority of people would still not choose Arsenal because the current Premier League champions, Liverpool, have gone on to bring one of the most exciting midfielders in the world in the form of Florian Wirtz and have also signed Jerome Frimpong and are on the verge of signing Milos Kerkez, meaning this team that was already good enough to win the Premier League title last year will now go on to become even more better next season. Alongside that, Manchester City, one of the most successful teams in the Premier League for last decade, who had an uncharacteristically poor season, are looking all set for comeback after they had signed 3 players in the January transfer window and have also had a good summer transfer window until now. They have acquired the services of Ryan Cherky, Ryan Altanuri, and Tijani Reinders and are looking for more. With all this in mind, it looks like the next season for Arsenal will be now or never. So, in this video, we will take a look at some areas where Arsenal should strengthen and look to improve to win the Premier League next season. Now, Arsenal had major reasons to lose all the momentum this year. Yes, the injuries to their key players like Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, and Havertz do play a key role, but still, there are many other areas to improve. Now, first, we take a look at the first choice lineup for Arsenal last year and see where there are some problems for them. So, they have a front three of Kai Havertz, who was playing as the centre forward. He was the first choice centre forward for Arsenal for majority of the season last year before he suffered a hamstring injury and was ruled out of the season in the month of February on the Dubai training camp. And then they had Gabriel Martinelli on the left wing, Bukayo Saka on the right wing. Then there was the midfield three of Declan Rice, Martin Odegaard, and Thomas Partey. Now we come to the back four. On the left back position, they had Michael Lewis Kelly, a centre back partnership of Gabriel and William Saliba, and on the right back, they had Julian Timber. In the goal, they had David Raya. There are some obvious weak areas in this team which we will discuss in the next section. Now, first of all, it is the attack that need fixing. If you look at the front three of Kai Havertz, Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Martinelli, then you would find that the attack is very much dependent on Bukayo Saka. Saka got 6 goals and 10 assists in just 25 games, but the returns for other forwards were not convincing enough. Like Kai Havertz was their highest scorer in the Premier League with 9 goals in 23 games. But anyone who has watched Arsenal last season will tell you that he was one of the most frustrating players to watch for Arsenal. He missed many key chances in crucial games and was very much low on confidence. Yes, he was very good in link-up play and very decent in holding the ball at higher positions. But one thing that is the most expected out of a centre forward, which is elite finishing, it was something that was lacking. One could make a compilation of so many misses he missed in those crucial games where Arsenal lost by a margin of 1 goal or drew those games, and it made one thing pretty much assured that Arsenal required a proper number 9. Now on the left hand side, Gabriel Martinelli scored 8 goals and 4 assists in 33 games, which is a decent figure, but for a title winning team, not sufficient. Then Leandro Trossard was a very good servant for Arsenal and managed to get 7 goals in 33 games. He played on that left wing position as well as played as a centre forward. He showed his flashes of brilliance here and there, but he could not score optimum amount of goals. Then towards the end of the season, they tried Mikel Merino as a centre forward, and barring that 2 goals against Leicester City, he looked like a fish out of water. All of this means Arsenal, if they are winning the Premier League next season, they would need a proper number 9 as well as someone who could give a lot more on that left wing position. Now, one more glaring weakness of this Arsenal team was that in so many games where we saw them, whenever the opposition team decided to play a low block, Arsenal struggled to break them down. And one of the main reasons for that was their main creative midfielder Martin Odegaard struggled throughout the season. And there was no one other than him in the team that could create something out of nowhere. This was one of the most notable weakness of this Arsenal team. Whenever a team decided to attack against Arsenal, then we saw Arsenal got lot of spaces to explore and they played fluid football, scoring a lot of goals. But whenever a team decided to sat back against them, they struggled to score. For this, Arsenal would need more creativity from that midfield department. They can no longer rely only on Martin Odegaard. Others have to step up, and Arsenal would need to bring in better midfielders who could fix these problems related to creativity. Now, one major advantage Arsenal had over other teams was that they were very strong in that defensive midfield position. Thomas Partey was one of the most underrated players in the Premier League. His defensive awareness and his ability to intercept many opposition passes is what makes this Arsenal team so defensively great. But now it looks like he is leaving Arsenal this summer. Arsenal will be in a bit of worry because replacing him would not be easy. Now, Arsenal have completed the transfer of Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, but personally, I believe Thomas Partey currently is a much better defensive midfielder than Martin Zubimendi, and it would take some time for Arsenal to fully replace him. Alongside that, Jorginho would be leaving Arsenal this summer. Now, I know a lot of people might not consider him as a massive loss, but I believe that he is still a massive loss for Arsenal because he was an excellent backup for a central defensive midfielder. Nowadays, the footballing calendar is insane. And in those environment, a guy like Jorginho who could give you a decent amount of games and someone who could help manage the minutes of Martin Odegaard, Thomas Partey and Declan Rice, all those qualities make him very valuable. Now with Jorginho and Thomas Partey both leaving, there exists a massive hole in that Arsenal midfield which cannot be filled alone by Martin Zubimendi, and they would have to do much more than that. Now, the back four of Arsenal at this point of time looks like the biggest strength of theirs at this point of time. Gabriel and William Saliba is an excellent centre back partnership and one of the best centre back partnerships in the world. Then they have Martin Lewis Kelly in that left back position, who had a phenomenal first season at Arsenal, and the potential of this youngster is off the roof. On the right back position, they have Julian Timber, who, in the absence of Ben White, positioned himself as one of the best right backs in the league. So, this back four of Arsenal is one of the best backline in world football. But I have a question. Is there enough depth behind them? As that is one thing Arsenal cannot afford to overlook, as one more season cannot be a write-off. Kieran Tierney will be leaving Arsenal this summer, and he has been an excellent backup left back for Arsenal who has come in and slotted in crucial times. Alongside that, they had Zinchenko and Tomiyasu. Both of them will be leaving Arsenal after both the players' contract expire this year. This means that Arsenal would be a little thin in the depth in that defenders department, something that would be a major concern for next season. Now, we talked about some areas of weakness in this Arsenal team. Now, we will talk about which players' positions they can target to improve next year. The most important area of concern for Arsenal would be a centre forward, a number 9 who could give them 15 to 20 Premier League goals, a clinical striker that could help them navigate so many close games by being clinical and be a consistent threat in the box. Arsenal have tried multiple players in that position, but it has not worked out. Gabriel Jesus was supposed to be that centre forward for Arsenal when he signed for the club, but his injury concerns in the last few years have meant Arsenal cannot rely on him. And Kai Havertz is not your typical number 9. And their makeshift centre forward, Mikel Merino, is also not the answer for them. Now, there are many options available in the market, and Arsenal must be careful about who to sign because this transfer could make or break their season. If they get the right guy, they could go on to win the Premier League, and if they do not, then the patience could completely run out and this Arsenal project could completely crumble. Alexander Isak. Okay, now I get it. Some of you might say it is unrealistic, and I get your points. But hear me out. I get that Newcastle United would not want to sell Alexander Isak because they have qualified for Champions League. But here, we are talking about the third most successful club in English top division. And sometimes when you want to achieve great things, you would have to take big decisions. And getting Isak from Newcastle would be one such decision. Getting Isak from Newcastle United would not be cheap and would require Arsenal to break Premier League record transfer. But I want to ask one thing to you guys. Is it worth it? I believe that yes, it is worth it. Alexander Isak is one of the best centre forwards in the game and he is only 25-year olds, which means he is about to enter his prime and most importantly, he is Premier League proven. Now, this process at the Emirates has been going on for 6 years and it cannot be afforded to go to waste. And as Arsenal are about to enter their make it or break it phase, there is no time for potential. They need someone who could instantly come in and take Arsenal to another level and help them win the Premier League. And Alexander Isak is exactly that. He has excellent movement, composure in 1v1 situations, and can score both inside and outside the box. He often creates many chances and could be a very great center forward. Most importantly, he is not a static striker. He is fast, agile, great in transitions, which could perfectly fit Arsenal's dynamic counter-attacking style. He is also comfortable drifting wide and linking up with wingers like Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, offering tactical flexibility. And more importantly, Mikel Arteta likes a mobile striker who could drop deep, help in build up, press aggressively. Alexander Isak ticks all the boxes. This means that he would be the most ideal center forward for this Arsenal team. If Arsenal is winning this next season, Alexander Isak is their best bet. Victor Gyökeres. Now, this guy would be second in the list of most probable center forwards for Arsenal to sign. Victor Gyökeres is a goal-scoring machine. He has torn the Portuguese league apart. He scored 33 goals in the Portuguese First Division. He is an excellent poacher, someone who can hold the ball up, strong in duels, great at holding off defenders and bullying centre backs, ideal for tight games or low blocks. He is fast, aggressive, loves to attack space, making him dangerous on the counter. He can lead quick transitions, press high, which aligns very well with Arteta's tactical philosophy. Now, he will not come for cheap, as Arsenal would have to fork out nearly 80 to 90 million pounds for him. But there is one slight doubt regarding him, and that is how well he would adapt to the Premier League. This is because we had a very recent centre forward from the Portuguese league who had a phenomenal record in Portugal but struggled to score in the Premier League. So there is obvious slight risk. Benjamin Sesko. Now, he is a 22-year-old Slovenian centre forward who has scored 14 goals in the Bundesliga last year for RB Leipzig. At just 22 years old, he is already showing signs of an elite number 9 with composure, smart runs, and a clean strike technique. He is clinical in 1v1s and a natural penalty box predator, something Arsenal would need. Standing at 6'5" with real pace, he is a rare combination of size, speed, and mobility. He can beat defenders in the air and behind, offering Arsenal a dynamic threat that they currently lack. Benjamin Sesko's build-up play has improved massively. He can drop deep, combine with Odegaard, and bring wide players into play. He presses well up front, which aligns with Arsenal's high-intensity pressing system. Further, with him being just 22 years old, he could be developed into a world-class striker under Mikel Arteta. Arsenal would be investing in a potential generational forward who could lead the line for a decade. Now, as we have analyzed previously, Arsenal problems up front are not limited to the centre forward alone, as they are struggling on that left wing too. Both Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli have not been that productive Arsenal would have hoped for, and hence a left winger like Rodrigo would be an ideal fit for Real Madrid. Now, at Real Madrid, Rodrigo had a frustrating season last year because he is someone who is actually a left winger, but he had to play at that right wing as Real Madrid already had two of the best left wingers in the team in the form of Kylian Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. Now, Rodrigo would be an excellent talent for Arsenal. Him joining in will mean that Arsenal's attack would be a lot more balanced as he could wreak havoc on that wing. He would be a massive upgrade over Gabriel Martinelli and Leandro Trossard. Central defensive midfielder. Now, Arsenal have completed the transfer of Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad, who is an excellent talent and someone who could certainly help fill the void left by Thomas Partey and Jorginho. But they need a bit more. They need one more midfielder and especially a defensive midfielder to manage the minutes of Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi. And personally, I believe Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart would be an ideal for that position. He is 24-year-old German international who would be an excellent deputy to Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi. Now, the Arsenal team, if they are to complete all the signings, they would look like this. The front three would include Alexander Isak, who would be the center forward. He would be someone who could hold the ball up fast and be quick in transitions. Then on the left wing, they would have Rodrigo, someone with a flair and one who could stretch that left side of the defense, pull the opposition right back very wide and creating space for Martin Odegaard to attack. His ability of 1v1 situations would help Arsenal greatly. Then in the right wing, they have Bukayo Saka, who could give you 20 goals in a season. Then Arsenal would have a midfield three of Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Martin Zubimendi. Martin Odegaard would have a massive role of providing creativity in this Arsenal team. Declan Rice would be more of a box-to-box midfielder, and Martin Zubimendi would play a significant role in a slightly deeper position where he would help in providing defensive solidity to Arsenal as well as playing as a deep line playmaker. Now, the backline would be Martin Lewis Kelly on left back, centre back partnership of William Saliba, and on the right back is a toss up. Both Ben White and Julian Timber could be slotted in that right back position. Right now, I would go on and put Julian Timber, and then in goal they have David Raya. Now, this team can help Arsenal end their Premier League drought after 22 years, and it is required. Otherwise, some key players would lose interest in this project and might start leaving soon. Now, this was about Arsenal and how they can improve, how the next season for them is going to be make or break it for them. If you have any of your ideas or suggestions, please post in the comments below. And if you like the video, then hit like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.